Bee pollen is probably their favourite. They love pollen and they'll eat it straight off the spoon. It's actually the flower pollen, and the bees collect it and take it to the hive, and then as they're entering the hive it's removed from their legs. So it's not really an animal product, it's from the flowers.
Wow. Couldn't we just get it straight from the flowers?
Yeah, and I do eat flowers. I love eating flowers. That's one of my favourite foods to eat. Zachary? Yeah? Do you want olives or avocado?
Would you feel upset if they decided to move on to cooked food at some point?
I don't see why they would ever want to, and I can't imagine that ever happening. And even if they did, if they started, it would make them feel so unwell that I couldn't see why they'd deliberately want to pursue. It's like saying, you know, if they wanted to start smoking heroin, it's like, I can't imagine why they would.
To a strict raw foodist, a cooked meal is as dangerous as taking hard drugs. But for those of us who are not yet hooked, could this quest for supreme health become an addiction in itself?
Once you've started, you really can't turn back, and then you have to deal with the peaks and the troughs, and there are peaks and troughs.
The trouble with extreme diets is that they tend to take over your life.
Have a Brazil nut.
Sticking to raw food at home is tough. Venturing into the outside world requires a will of iron.
If you were trying to give up cigarettes, and every time you walked into a shop there was like loads of packets of cigarettes, every time you went to your family's house they were like, go on, have a cigarette, what's wrong with you, why don't you want one? It would be really hard. So this is the same with the junk food thing. It's like so embedded in our culture, it's really hard to resist. You know, those kind of temptations are everywhere, you know.
Would they ever ask for an ice cream at the beach?
No. It's just what they're used to, you know. It's like, it's just when you're a child you just accept what you're given, and it's everyone else that's a bit wrong. Like just now they were asking me for an apple, and I'd say no to an apple, which sounds weird to most people, but I don't want them to eat too much fruit because then their diet's too high in sugar. So it's like for them the apple would be the exciting treat. Or the freshly squeezed orange juice, you know? That would be a real treat.
Working in a studio, when you're sitting in a chair, it's very easy to sort of grab comfort food. You know, a client comes in with a big chocolate bar and you think, oh, God, that'd be great. What I've done here is I've brought along my own juicer, so at lunchtime I make my own juice, and it also gives me a nice break away from the room. I do take precautions to counteract the negative aspects of working in a studio. So I have various gadgets in the room, which means it protects me from all the electromagnetic radiation and positive ions, which actually really can cause serious damage. You can buy a vortex pendant. This is a vortex pendant. And the level on which they work is one of quantum physics, so it's pretty sophisticated, and I won't get into it here. So that's that one, and there's a similar one. This is taped on the back of the phone, and they just work. We've got one on the fridge. Yeah, so it helps, protects the vegetables from all the electricity in the fridge. And that's what it does, basically. It helps create a field around you that basically enables other things to not sort of penetrate.
I stopped drinking coffee when I got the water ionizer. It's a great gadget that microclusters, ionizes, filters and alkalizes water, so it makes it as pure and as good quality as you can from London tap water.
And what's wrong with tap water?
Bacteria, chemicals, contraceptive pill, Prozac, cocaine, parasites, chlorine, stagnancy, iron pipes, you name it, it's polluted.
There's cocaine in tap water?
Yeah. London tap water, big time. I wear this against my skin. It's a gadget which has a magnet inside and 2 electrical currents through each disc.
Why do you need to wear that?
We all have parasites, and we all are basically giving our energy to the parasites. So if you clear the parasites, then your mind works much clearer. When it's against your skin, it sends out electrical current that attracts all the parasites in your body to that area and then zaps them and kills them.
It's just a different way of looking at things. You know, life is pretty miserable for people who are unhealthy. They can't be as active, they are restricted in what they can do, and sometimes they just have a pretty painful existence as well, which can result in early death. My friend Mike loves playing the game Guess How Old Andy Is with everybody, and it's very flattering. It's still very flattering. I mean, you know, some people say I look in my mid-40s. Someone stupidly thought I was in my late 30s, but I like them for that.
Drinking. Nice big glass of champagne. Drugs and alcohol. At a certain point, I was in the pub 5 nights a week, drinking at least 3 or 4 pints a night. So that's quite a lot of beer. And I was the person at college who'd go in every day going, "You'll never guess what I did last night." Yeah.
So do you feel different to this Suki?
Very different. Well, I was having fun. It wasn't that I wasn't enjoying myself. I just don't want to do that anymore. I didn't tell anyone I was doing it. I just went raw. And just walked around, and every footstep I was thinking, I'm raw, this is going to change my life, this is significant. And for the first week was in shock. I was mourning the loss of all the restaurants I'd ever go to again, and the loss of a normal social life, and how my life would change. And then by the 3rd week I was in a totally different space, and it was just like, this is it, there's no going back.
Once you've cut yourself off from the junk food eating masses, the world can become a much lonelier place. Kate's children don't have to deal with the tricky question of school dinners and sweet-eating pals because she educates them all at home.
The only thing about home education is it's hard for me to find friends. It's the only thing, because when you go to school, you have to make friends because you have to sit in a classroom with loads of other children. I don't have that much raw food friends. I've got a vegetarian one who eats a lot of salads. So it's harder to find friends because you're not with other people as much.
I sometimes miss being normal. So sometimes I'll see someone having a cappuccino and just wish I could go and have a cappuccino, but it's been such a long time since I did. I miss, I used to drink a lot of coffee, I used to drink a lot of alcohol, so I kind of miss that social life, and I miss just being able to go and have a pizza.
How does it work with boyfriends? Could you go out with someone who ate burgers and drank beer?
No, because they would smell bad. To me. I can feel and see white bread and milk in someone's skin. I can feel it. I can smell people's breath, what they've had.
If you really fancied someone but they ate meat?
You can't really fancy someone who eats meat when you're as clean as I am and you can smell it and feel it and sense it in them. Like, you can have chemistry with someone, but you don't actually want them to take their clothes off. That's how it works.
Luckily, Andy and Kate are both as healthy as each other, and their raw conversion has been a joint project.
I think it'd be very much more difficult if either she was on it on her own or I was. We've pretty much moved in sync throughout the time we've been together, and because we're both discovering new things, it also keeps things very fresh in our relationship, We haven't woken up every morning